Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, do that thing down below. So I just turned 20,000 miles on my KTM 390 Adventure, and I've had quite a bit of time on it and time to think about and experience the things that I really love about this bike. Now, I already did a video on the 5 things I hate about this bike, but I need to balance it out and talk about the 5 things that I love about this bike. So if this is a bike you're interested in or you have, stick around and we'll talk about all of the things that make this bike awesome. Just a real quick brief interruption before we get on to the 5 things I love about the KTM 390 Adventure. If you have seen my previous video on the 5 things I hate about the KTM 390 Adventure and you read through those comments, you will see a lot of passion from 390 Adventure riders and a lot of defensiveness that I would dare to say anything negative about that bike. Now, with that being said, I really appreciate all your passion. Thank you for giving it to me, but also understand for those of you that maybe hit the unsubscribe after watching that I do actually love this bike, and I think you'll see that. And if you watch all my other videos, you'll understand I do love this bike, and that's why I'm doing this video on the 5 things I love about the KTM 390 Adventure. So let's get to it. The number 5 thing that I love about this bike is the abundance of aftermarket parts. And it seems like there are more and more and more parts coming out for this bike. There is the shocks and spring. There's a lot of ergonomic stuff that's out, and there's some interchangeability between the 790, 890 and this. So that makes it fantastic. This windscreen fits the 790 and the 890. Bar risers, you can get those off of other KTM platforms. And there's quite a bit of parts being made for this bike because it's very popular. There's a lot of them out there. So I think comparing that to other bikes in this segment where there might not be quite as many aftermarket parts for a bike that's been out only for a few years, that makes it one of the things I love about this bike, is the ability to find extra parts. Now, if you're thinking about places to go get some of those, look at Rottweiler Performance. They have a lot of parts for this. Some of them are interchangeable. And then they at AOMC.mx, they also have, or KTM Twins, also have an array of aftermarket parts for this bike. Something that was surprising was the number of companies that have also came out with luggage racks for this bike. I did not expect that. So there's probably 4 or 5 different options that you can go with if you want a luggage rack. So number 5, the availability of aftermarket parts. The number 4 thing that I love about this bike is that it is a small, lightweight adventure bike with a short wheelbase. It makes it really easy to pick up if for some reason you drop it, or if you need to lay it down to dig it out of a hole, it's easy to get back up. Having something that's lightweight is a lot easier to ride. It also has a short wheelbase, so I can make U-turns almost anywhere, and I really enjoy that. So the lightweight nimbleness of this bike is the number 4 reason I love this bike. The number 3 reason I love this bike is it's cheap to maintain. An oil change, getting proper motorcycle oil and a filter and an air filter, changing all of those is around $60, $65 each time, which is a fraction of the cost of the bigger bikes, because this only takes 1.7 liters of oil as opposed to 4. So you can do the math when you're spending $16 a quart. The air filter is less expensive, the oil filter is less expensive, and even though it requires shorter service intervals, around 4,600 to 4,800 miles, it's still less expensive than a big adventure bike. Now, on top of that, tires are less expensive, and chain and sprockets are less expensive for this bike. So overall maintenance of this bike is less expensive than the medium and large adventure bikes, which is one of the things I love about this. After having the R1200 GS and the cost of ownership of that bike being somewhere around $200 a month when you put in tires and oil changes and valve checks, all those things, it was very expensive. This, it's maybe $40 a month in maintenance costs for the entire year. So something I really love. The number 2 thing I love about this bike kind of falls in the category of maybe ego, a little bit of pride as well, but I love rolling up on backcountry discovery routes or riding dirt roads or trails on this bike fully loaded and rolling up on guys riding like T700s, KTM 790, 890s, BMW R1200 GSs, where they're all decked out and they think they're really hardcore getting after it, and I roll up on a 390.
Sup?
Where I don't have a lot of ground clearance, I don't have that extended travel, but I'm doing all the same things that they are on a much smaller bike. I don't know what it is about it. You can just see people's eyes get really big because when they first look at the bike, because of the styling being very similar to the 790, 890s, they automatically think that's what it is. And then when I point out to them that this is a 390, there's just like jaws dropping, eyes get big, and they're like, what? You know, how are you riding this bike out there? How are you doing this? And I just do it. So that's the number 2 thing I love about this bike, is it surprises people when you meet them on the trail and they're on their big expensive bikes and, you know, going places that they think they need to have that 10 or 12 inches of travel, whatever it is. I just enjoy that. So that's the number 2 thing I love about this bike. The number 1 thing that I love about this bike is it is so incredibly fun to ride. I realized after getting it that there's very few situations where I wish I had more power, usually on the road. Off-road, I never wish I had more power. I've always been able to get through and up everything that I have tried to do, everything that have been on the backcountry discovery routes that I've ridden, and there's been quite a few. So I've never wanted more than what this bike can offer, and it has been a blast. Yeah, I may have to shift a lot more when I'm on the roads to keep the power up, to keep the RPMs up, but I enjoy that. It handles corners really, really well. It's easy to go in and out of them. It flows well. Off-road, it's pretty easy to ride as well. So the number 1 thing I love about this bike is how much fun it is. And I know some people complain about the vibrations of this bike. I'm on the other end of it. I actually like the feel of that engine because it has a lot of pep to it. And with some of the things I've done to my bike, when I give it a little bit of throttle and it wants to go, you just feel the coming out of the engine. So maybe it's not going to terrorize anybody or scare them, but I really enjoy it. So that is the number 1 thing I love about this bike, is it is just incredibly fun to ride. I need to add one bonus item to the 5 things I love about a KTM 390 Adventure. I am currently doing a tour through the northern New England states. I'm in Vermont. I don't know where. I just know I'm in Vermont because GPS told me that when I crossed the state line. So the gas mileage on this bike has been spectacular, and especially up here, you can get 90 or 91 octane ethanol free. The bike loves it. 70 plus miles to the gallon. So I find that awesome because even with a smaller tank, the range is incredible. I've ridden mid-size and large adventure bikes, and those are getting 40, 45, maybe 50 miles to the gallon. This blows that away. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this entertaining and my thoughts on this bike. I've done a lot of videos on this bike, and I just wanted to add just the top things that really excite me about it. So if you have one of these bikes, leave your top 5 things that you love about it in the comments. If there's something that I missed, or maybe you don't agree with me, leave that in the comments below too, and we can have a discussion about what the best things are about this bike. So thanks for watching. Get out, do some riding, ride safe, and I will see you out there.